I will sing you a song today because a grouch on his way. Nope, not going to sing you a song because I am the absolute worst singer in the world. My name is Steve and welcome to Flipping the Nerd's Movie of the Week. This week we're talking about my absolute favorite movie from my early childhood. Of course, I'm talking about Sesame Street's Follow That Bird. What? You've never seen this movie before? Shame on you. If you haven't, go find it somewhere because it is awesome. Now, before I get into the movie, let's talk about why I have a Canadian flag behind me. Well, if you have seen the movie, it starts with a nice big American flag with Oscar the Grouch singing an anthem for it. However, I don't own an American flag, so I had to substitute it with something. So I figured I would substitute it with my own country, Canada. Or I could have gone with the Irish flag, my heritage. Or I could have also gone with the South Korean flag, because I own a South Korean flag. I'm not really going to go into that story. Megjuan Janadale? Well, I went with the Canadian one, so deal with it. So let's get into the review of Sesame Street, Follow That Bird. Alright, let's get into it. Let's talk about Sesame Street itself. Sesame Street is more than a television show. It's a tool for kids to be educated on math with the count. You have, spelling, you have moral choices, and shows kids how to be in their future life. It is an awesome show that's both entertaining and educational. If you were my age in the 30s, you've definitely seen this show, and this probably actually taught you a lot of life lessons that otherwise you probably wouldn't learn in school. But you see, the Sesame Street of my childhood and the Sesame Street now are apparently vastly different. The Sesame Street of my childhood had Bert and Ernie in the same room without anyone thinking they were gay. It had Cookie Monster going nuts on cookies and not giving a shit about his diet or having one cookie a day. Stupid. Then you had Snuffleupagus that nobody questioned. It was awesome, put it that way. Big Bird's semi-imaginary friend, so that was really cool. Oscar the Grouch was super rude and demeaning, but you needed a character like that because he did have a heart underneath all that garbage, I guess. And finally, Elmo was nothing more than a side character that no one gave a shit about. Just the way I like him, because he's annoying. He was post when I used to watch that show, so good for him. And it is that Sesame Street that Follow That Bird was made. Now, a lot of people don't even know that Sesame Street had a motion picture. And they should, because it's awesome. You should find this movie right away, because it's just as good for kids as it is for adults. Let me explain what the story is a little bit. Big Bird, which is the star of Sesame Street, is feeling a little lonely and out of place. Of course he does, he's a giant bird. So an adoption agency finds out about it and wants to put him with other birds. Because in the bird world, birds and other creatures shouldn't mix. See, right away we're hitting on racism, where they use, the different types of discriminations, whether it's, I guess, not just racism, but any type of discrimination. And the birds want to make sure that he doesn't identify with the other creatures, and the other creatures don't care if he's a bird, they just love him for who he is. It's a very strong subject, presented extremely well in this movie. So Big Bird is sent to a bird family, and he doesn't like it there. He doesn't feel like he belongs. So he goes on a quest to go back to Sesame Street, as the characters of Sesame Street go on a quest to find Big Bird. Hijinks ensue both on Big Bird's side and on the Sesame Street side, and it is an absolutely wonderful movie. Now, there's a lot of comedy in this movie that's both funny for kids and adults. I mean, there's a scene where Oscar the Grouch brings some of the other characters to a really dirty restaurant. They have sham burgers and shellfish and chips, and he orders, or the character with him orders, a tossed salad and then they had this big like salad fight. In what movie can you get away with a giant salad fight? Well, I'll tell you which movie. Sesame Street's movie. There's just so many things like that. I mean, the bad guys run a carnival, and the carnival's called Sleaze Brothers Unfair. Why the hell would you go to this place? And it's full of kids. And they are like total 80s cheesy villains. I mean, there's a kid on a on a big wheel there, and they bring him halfway up, and then they stop the ride and they tell him, you need to pay us another nickel if you want to get all the way back to the ground because it's not a round trip. I mean, and then they steal his apple. It's so ridiculous, but it's so funny and it works in the perfect way. There are just so many things that are awesome about this movie. It touches on all these really serious subjects like loneliness and helping out others in need and the racism and the discrimination I talked about before, but it does it in such a clever way. So I highly recommend that everybody watches this. Adults watch it with their kids. It's funny for everybody. Now, there is one scene that's very difficult to watch, at least for me, because I grew up on Sesame Street and I like the way it was. Well, they take Big Bird, these Sleaze brothers, and want to put a show on where he's singing for a crowd for money so they can make more money. And they know that people are looking for a giant yellow bird. So they decide to paint him blue. It's ridiculous, but it's hilarious and sad. I mean, of course they're going to know who he is. He's a giant bird. There's no one like him. You can paint him blue, you can paint him red, you can paint him purple. It doesn't matter. Now that I think of it, maybe I can go incognito if I was painted blue. Did it work? Am I incognito now? Nope. I am just fucking frightening. Oh my god, this is horrible. Ah. I look more like Tobias from Arrested Development. I belong in a Blue Man group. I feel like Willy Wonka cast me away from his factory. Oh god. Why do I do these things to myself? Anyway, that was Follow That Bird. Very awesome movie. Highly recommend it. Watch it. Next week, we got a really special movie. Another one that I really liked. UHF. Ugh. You just know I'm going to embarrass myself in that one too. See you next week, folks.